Welcome back to the second half of Chocobo Chasers. I am G. I'm joined by the Choke Bros, Eric and Dash. How are you guys doing tonight?
Oh, we're living.
It's been
We're
a fun day.
surviving.
We out here,
Yeah. Uh, in what is going to be our second to last episode before we actually end up hanging out next week, which is super fun. Big shout out to Saints Block Party Podcast. Adam and Ryan cultivating that community, obviously, which allowed us to be able to go ahead and, create this. Also wanted to give a huge shout out to Jay Britton, who you just heard the interview with for the first half of this episode. It's always really fun when we get to talk with people who are as excited and as big into gaming as we are. While everybody that we've talked to, it's always a pleasure when you do talk to somebody who is passionate about not just acting and not just voice acting, but video games as a medium. And Jay has this huge Bloodborne tattoo. This dude's in it.
Oh yeah.
It's really cool. So definitely want to give him a shout out and be sure to follow him on Twitter. We'll definitely make sure to go ahead and link his socials. Also be sure you're catching him on Twitch as a recently elevated partner. So we have a few really fun things to talk about tonight. One that I have been chomping at the bit to discuss. But first, we're going to dive into our regular segment of what are you playing? Eric, I'm going to have you start us off this week, man.
So I have continued finally my Cyberpunk playthrough. Maybe 2 hours. Man, I really haven't had a lot of time to game besides, like my typical Valorant on the weekends and a little bit of Counter-Strike here and there. Also started Miles Morales. Want to get that in before I play Spider-Man 2. So it's been pretty light over on my end this week.
That is a pretty light week. Dash, what about you, man?
I think it's the opposite for me because I probably have like 5 different games I put time in this week. So let's see. We'll start off with a little bit of Ghost of Tsushima. So got into Act 3 a bit, saw my horse died and did like the whole siege of Shimura Castle, which was a really good mission.
Yeah,
So
that's
cool.
a great mission.
Now it's just kind of clean up the last bit of the thing, which I think I've pretty much maxed everything out at this point. So it's more just completing the map, completing activities, and just getting the story done. I'm sure there's not much more left for me, but I mean, unfortunately, I only got to put like maybe 5 hours into the game since then. So haven't spent too much time on Ghost. That's kind of like one of the minor things I did. I also spent maybe a little bit of time Thursday, I think it was, before the Thursday night game. Or no, wait, it was Sunday. I did a little bit of Sunday. I did the Diablo 4, decided to check out how season 2 was because everybody's been talking about how much better the game is. And like the couple hours I played, I already got my character up to like level 30. So
Oh, wow.
I mean, yeah, it's real. They really I think they did like a 40% XP gain, so you're leveling up quicker. They've improved the looting and like there's a lot of quality of life improvements there. So I haven't really gotten too into the nitty-gritty of the seasonal content yet. Just kind of been exploring, the nice thing they did this season is you get all the skills and Paragon points and all that stuff that you've already unlocked from last season into next season, so you don't have to do all the map exploration and doing dungeons and strongholds to get your renown for each region back up. You can still do that for like the XP and gold rewards, but at least you get those skill points, so you start off with your level 1 character with like 10 skill points already, so it helps with like the getting the build quicker done. And also like your gems are now craftable material, so you'll pick up like fragments instead, and then you can craft those into the gem pieces you want. You still pick up like regular gems that take up inventory slots, but you can just dismantle them into the crafting material if you need to. So maybe once I mean, this is a long, until January, so I have plenty of time to get back into Diablo 4 to really close out the season. I'm not in the rush right now.
Right.
It was, main thing was Spider-Man 2, obviously, once Friday came around, and that was pretty much a nonstop ride for me. Pretty much played it all Friday and Saturday, and then finished it up Monday. And I'm sure we're going to be talking about that later. So
we'll probably be talking about it here very shortly.
yeah. So I won't go too much into it. Just, really fantastic game. If you love the first Spider-Man, obviously the second one's better in a lot of ways. I think they've, kind of like it has the quality of life improvements, and we'll talk about that. Let's see what else. Oh yeah, Modern Warfare 2 did a bit of that. Did the haunting event, which they have like all these cool things to do in DMZ and Warzone. So with my boy London, we were in DMZ doing the haunting bosses. So there's like 5 different bosses. We did 4 of them. So you got the Butcher from Diablo 4 is in Warzone. And the cool thing about that boss fight is he actually has like a Diablo 4 health bar that shows up. So you're just like in this flame arena running around with zombies chasing you as you got the Butcher on your ass too. There's this Pharaoh, which was just a fucking bullet sponge. Go into a swamp, and there's these like creature of Black Lagoon type things that you can kill. What was the 4th one? That was like the first one we did too. Oh, UFO. There's a fucking UFO you can shoot down. And the last one that I haven't done is just like a Doom train, which is just like spooky train with skulls, and it's more of an obstacle course than it is a boss fight. But I mean, the haunting events were really fun, and there's also like you can in multiplayer or modes you collect souls, and you can redeem those souls for cosmetic items. So there's like a really cool camo that you can get for your gun, but it's like 1,000 souls, and you only can like in a multiplayer match the max you can carry out is like 18 per match. So
it's a lot.
That's gonna be a fucking lot of matches, and it's a limited time event, so they're probably gonna be expecting me to play a lot of this game. And finally, the last game I played this week was Hades. Did a bit more Hades, and I've actually made a lot of progress. I had a couple good runs where I actually made it to the 3rd zone.
Okay.
But I have not beaten that 3rd zone yet. I can
Have you gotten to the boss?
Yes, I can kill the Minotaur. I can't kill the other fucking dude. So that's where I'm struggling. But I mean, I got to the point where it's just like I can do the first 2 bosses so easily.
What is your favorite weapon in Hades?
That is a good question. They do have their good points. I think
I have 2 that are my favorite.
I think my best runs have been with like the spear and the gauntlets.
Ugh. I really like the sword and the spear.
Sword's good too.
There's I think there's like 6 different weapons that you can utilize, and they're all very different, which is something that's really cool about the game. I mean, it's every run can just be so totally different.
Yeah.
And
they only give you so many abilities to choose from, and so you kind of just have to you gotta like adapt. And that's why I like roguelike so much, is because it's not you go in with your set path every time and it's always the same. You have to adapt, you have to change your play style depending on what you're given. Exactly. And that's what I really enjoy, because it adds variety, adds replayability, and that's kind of like the key of what games need. It's like I don't care how great it looks graphically or whatever. It's more about if the gameplay is great, I'll keep coming back over and over again to play this. And replayability makes it any game worth its money.
Absolutely.
Because there's so many games where I play it once and I'm done and I never touch it again. And then there's those games that I just keep going back to. Like Risk of Rain, I put hundreds of hours in because it's just addicting. It's something that I can keep doing over and over again.
Right.
Also, I'm a Dusa simp now, so
that is the least surprising thing that I think you've ever said on the pod. I also actually have been playing Hades this week, and it's just a really fun game. Dash kind of touched on a lot of those same points. Like, I think it's a really just fun game. It was nominated for Game of the year it came out, and for good reason. The story's fun. The voice actors are great. The gameplay is very different than from a lot of other roguelikes. Art style is also very unique, and I think it's something that's just really sticks out. And if you watch the trailer for Hades 2, like it definitely still maintains that a lot of the things that made the first one very special. I have also been playing Oxenfree 2 Lost Signals, which is a sequel to the original Oxenfree. You can typically get it on sale, on super sale. I bought it on PlayStation for $2.99. And as far as indies go, it's pretty good. It's a very interesting and unique game. It's not really action mechanics at all. It's more of just like a walking sim, and it's just a very interesting story and very
Let's say I
interesting
don't think I've
dynamic.
ever seen this game before.
Yeah, if you're gonna play the first one first. Gives you a good idea for kind of the second one is kind of just more of the same, but with a shinier coat of paint. And it's actually made by Netflix Games, which is the first game I think that I've ever played, which is made by their studio. So I was very, very interested to see that. I also played Spider-Man and platinumed it. So I, in the words of Eric, I no-lifed it basically this weekend. Took Friday off of work, took Monday off of work,
Fuck yeah.
and I played the fucking shit out of that game.
Go
Zero.
outside, nerd.
Yeah. No, stay inside, nerd.
Yeah, didn't beat it, just or I beat it, but I didn't platinum it.
So I will say, and we'll dive more into Spider-Man here in just a little bit, but I will say that it was probably one of the least grindy platinums that I've ever done. And that is a huge testament to level design and whoever created the trophies for the game. Thank you, because it didn't feel grindy at all. The first one did definitely for a little bit. You had to get every crime type done in each zone, and that took for fucking ever.
There were so many different types of tokens. It was like, oh, here's the Kingpin tokens, here's the city tokens, here's the
demons, and yeah, it's just, it took a while. And so the biggest thing is, I think after I finished the game and after I did all the side quests, I was like running around for like 30 minutes doing some crimes and opening chests around the city to get points for suits. That's it. Because I had already unlocked all of the abilities and all of the gear. So it was not grindy whatsoever. We'll talk about Spider-Man again here in just a little bit, but it was so good. And then lastly, a game that I played, I tried the demo for it when it first came out, and I did not like the demo. It's weird because when it first got announced, the game I'm talking about is Strangers of Paradise Final Fantasy Origin.
Oh yeah.
A very interesting game in terms of, it was kind of roasted when it first got announced because of the trailer. I'm gonna kill chaos. Yeah. And it is a little bit like that in the game. It definitely is, at least to start. It's not so much anymore. I'm about 6 or 7 hours in, but it is a little campy. It's a little cheesy.
I think that's part of the charm for it, though.
It is, yeah. And the thing is, if you go in expecting a Final Fantasy game, you're going to be very sorely mistaken, because it is probably one of the closest games I've ever seen to Neo, which is a kind of a Soulsborne style game. This is much easier than that. And I'm playing on just the normal difficulty. I'm sure on the harder ones is probably much more aligned with Neo, but it's fun. The job system that they have for the game is probably one of the cooler ones. And how you unlock all the skills, it's a tree, and then once you get to the bottom, like, it unlocks further advanced skills and like advanced jobs and all that kind of stuff. The story is fine. I mean, it's not anything amazing, but it's a fun game. I'm definitely enjoying it, and I'm really just kind of passing the time until Alan Wake 2 comes out on Friday, because I have it pre-ordered and I'm gonna play the shit out of it again this weekend. So to the topic at hand, we are talking about Spider-Man 2. Eric has not played Spider-Man 2, so we are doing spoiler free here, but we did want to touch on this one because obviously it's the fastest selling PlayStation exclusive ever. 2.5 million copies sold in 24 hours, outselling The Last of Us Part 2, outselling Ragnarok. So obviously it's a force from a financial perspective. Graphically, it looks insane. It is one of the best looking games I've ever played. The thing is, you're not seeing like it's hard to kind of compare to say like Final Fantasy 16 because what is being displayed is just so different. Like Final Fantasy is this fantasy setting with icons or summons that are like these big mythical creatures, and Spider-Man, you're playing New York City, and you get to see more of the boroughs than were in Spider-Man 1 and Miles Morales. But even still, like, yes, it is the city, but they do such a good job of bringing it to life, especially compared to the first two games. All of the places feel like an actual place as opposed to just these buildings that are set up in the map, especially like the Coney Island like park that they created. The residential area felt very good, like just from a looks and feel standpoint. I'm not going to dive into anything story-wise because believe me, there are so many things that I could say about it. I will say that I've posted this on Twitter, but I really don't know if there's ever been a more perfect cast than to have Tony Todd, aka the Candyman, be playing Venom. His voice fits the character so well, and the embodiment of Venom is just, I don't want to spoil anything. I will say, for me, this is the best superhero game I've ever played, which is a lot because the Arkham games are a little dated right now. It obviously came out on the PlayStation 3, Xbox 360 era, but Arkham City has kind of been the standard to which video games are held ever since it came out. And for good reason. It is so good. What separates this, as in Spider-Man 2 from Arkham City, is this story is so emotional. And I think that is one huge thing that separates it from Spider-Man 1, is that there's so much at stake, and you actually feel for the characters. You want things to work out. You don't like character decisions, and you understand why they're being made, but you still are like, oh, that's like, why are you doing that? And it's just, what a game. It has easily entered my game of the year conversation. This is going to be so hard, and we're going to be doing this discussion here in the next few weeks as we approach the Game Awards. But Dash, also wanted to get your take on a non-spoiler free or a spoiler free review of Spider-Man 2.
Oh yeah, I mean, every aspect of it, like you actually have significant amount of abilities that you didn't have in the first Spider-Man game, so you actually have like a variety of ways that you can go about it. The gadgets are much better, and they make it so much easier to access the gadgets too, because I think it was like Spider-Man 1, you just had to pause, basically slow down the game as you scroll through all your different gadgets.
The wheel,
selected.
yeah.
Now it's all hold R1 and it's triangles. It's kind of like the Final Fantasy 16 system where you just hold one button and you can choose which ability you want. Miles and Peter have their own unique abilities that are very fun to use, and then they got the stuff that they share because there's 3 different skill trees that you're going through, and
right.
I think I kind of tried to balance it out as much as possible, but the biggest benefit's definitely focusing on the shared abilities because there's a lot in there. There are the improvements of like not having as many moments where you're walking around as Miles or Peter outside of their costume. I know there's a lot of those moments in the first game, at least. So it kind of slowed it down, but I mean, those were really good for introducing you to the characters and in their world, but it's not something you want to do when you're playing a Spider-Man game. Unfortunately, we still have like the Mary Jane missions.
I will say that was very much improved.
Do they
though.
really?
It's much better though. I will say that.
It's better, but it still is kind of like a pace breaker kind of thing where it's just like,
Get Mary Jane out of my face.
but I mean, it's more sparingly used, I might say. And
Yeah. I think that there's more of an action focus, I would definitely say, on the Mary Jane portion, and they kind of explain like why it's that way as well in the game, and
Yeah.
I think it makes sense, like with the
somebody
story.
compare it, it's like you're running around like Solid Snake and Mary Jane, just like.
It,
But-
honestly, yeah.
What? The only thing I mean, it's kind of like they added the ability to make like those web lines in between walls and stuff, but I don't think there's enough levels that you really get to make use of it. Honestly, they give you this new ability, but then not really have the levels that.
There
'Cause,
wasn't
like-
as much like hideouts and stuff
Yeah,
as there was in
yeah,
the first game.
Like
Yeah.
in the first game, you had so many hideouts, so like you always had like the option to like stealthily take everyone out, but you really don't have that in this game. So it's kind of like, I guess some people may not like it, so it's like, oh, I'm just gonna go around and beat people up. That's kind of what the way I want to play. But
yeah, that there definitely was much more of an action focus, I think, than there was like, because the first one had a lot of stealth, and there is still some of that in this game, but it's much more alleviated, especially when you have the symbiote suit. Like there's a large emphasis on just kicking the shit out of people, and don't get me wrong, I am not complaining whatsoever because it is awesome. But
Yeah. I'd say that there's a bigger, well, maybe I'm not. I'm trying to think if there was a more variety of open world activities than there was in the first one. Because like you don't have the Taskmaster ones where you had the different types of things that like Taskmaster had like 3 or 4 different types of activities you were doing for him.
yeah,
Then you had like all the different types of hideouts, which kind of is just the same thing but for a different enemy type. So you basically only had that for Craven.
and I will say Craven was excellent in this
All
game.
the like bosses were really great. There's even like surprise bosses that I didn't think we would be fighting.
Yeah.
And I mean, obviously, I'm not going to say who, but
Yeah.
I mean, there's surprise appearances from characters that you might have expected, but not in the way that you thought it would. Like,
yes, like
I'll just say the Flame storyline, let's say. I as someone who read the comics, and I'm saying like up to like the 80s, but you know, like most of this stuff has been covered up to that point. I'm not familiar. I don't think that the Flame is anything that's ever been in the comics, so to my knowledge. So
Yeah.
it kind I was trying to think. I'm like, is this a comic book character? And yes, the main leader of the Flame is a comic book character, and it's a really awesome way they introduced him. You're gonna like the reveal, and it definitely sets him up for further down the line. Let's just leave it at that.
Yeah. And one other thing that you kind of just touched on is like they took their creative liberties with how these characters originated in the universe.
Yes.
Kurt Connors was one that I actually really enjoyed, like how he gets introduced and why he, it's kind of the way he is, all that kind of stuff. So again, not going to dive too much into spoilers, but Spider-Man, easy game of the year contender, immensely awesome superhero game. And once New Game Plus hits, I will be replaying it because it is very good. Also, there are a million different suits, and there are some that are just heinously ugly and some that are super awesome. But
yeah, that last suit that you get for doing like all
for the Miles one is not
Nah, I don't have a problem with the Miles one. I know people on Twitter have been bashing like Miles' official new suit, so like the suit that you get for him in the story.
Yeah.
But like I'm thinking like the optional ones like you get for Peter Parker for doing the Emily May Foundation quest line. So you have to basically beat the game to get that last mission. I'm like, okay, this one has to be cool, right? And it's kind of like what is this? But there are a lot of cool suits. Like you got like a basically like Common Rider inspired one.
Yeah.
And Miles has like Miles had one that was like it kind of looks like Assassin's Creed almost. It's like really cool looking designs there. Even one like they took, they still have like the ones that they take from the movies and the game previous universes. in comics. Like they have like an absolute carnage one for Miles that's really cool, which is one of the coolest comic book lines out there.
It is absolutely awesome. But Spider-Man 2 is a wholehearted recommend from the Chocobo Chasers. If you haven't picked it up, please definitely go ahead and do so. You won't be disappointed. It's not a terribly long game. And honestly, that was kind of my biggest thing is I just wish it was longer because I wish there was more to play from it because I would have had an absolute blast continuing to do that. So we normally go ahead and discuss common events, or not common, but current events that are going on within the gaming community. And, one of the things that popped up this week, which was kind of interesting, is PlayStation had a patent which got found by internet sleuths. I don't know exactly who it was that originally reported on it, but they're apparently testing out a feature to create a controller with rechargeable earbuds like that can be stored within the controller. It's very interesting to me. Like, I will say PlayStation has continued to try and innovate the controller game like as much as possible. I think Xbox feels like they've kind of like perfected their controller, so it's really small, minute details that they're looking to do. But I wouldn't be surprised to see Xbox try and kind of do haptic style features for, whatever is going to be their next controller. And PlayStation is, for a lot of their shortcomings, which have been as part of the PlayStation 5 console generation, the DualSense is a resounding triumph.
It's an incredible controller.
It's just an immense piece of technology. Eric just flashing that beautiful God of War, courtesy of the Chocobros. Happy birthday to our man Eric this year. Definitely have one sitting right here as well, which I use with PC. And that's definitely one part where they have not fallen short. But I also, as somebody who games for, when I do game, I always use over the ear headphones because
I realized I had my background blurred the whole time.
Yeah, you just now noticed.
Yeah, I wasn't paying attention, man.
Oh, it was like that since like our Jay interview, I think.
Yeah, I might have hit a button on accident. I was trying to stop. I was trying to stop it. I guess I just didn't pay attention. But hey, fuck it.
So we have this patent is cool, but it's going to be very person specific because I really don't know a lot of people who use buds while gaming.
No.
One, just for comfort. I mean, I do think over the ear are more comfortable for gaming, especially
the PlayStation ones are very good.
Yep.
For the longest time with like the PlayStation 4, you got like that little single earbud one that had like the mic on the wire that came with it. I used that for the longest time, and if you used it for like hours, your ear would be so sore. It's just wasn't convenient.
It'll be interesting to see who's that's going to be marketed for, because Eric is just look like Darth helmet right now.
Darth headset. The PlayStation one, man, it's been a while since I've worn this, but I forgot how good of a headset this is. This is real lightweight. And I mean, I do like my Corsair, but that's nice.
They're solid ones. So just interesting to see PlayStation's, trying to continue to revamp the controller, and I guess technically the headphone game too as well. But we'll have to see, because this is also a patent. It doesn't necessarily reflect what the final product is going to be. It's just kind of an optional thing. So one bit of news that's really, really exciting right now is Golden Joysticks, which is it's a Game Awards. It's actually the longest running Game Awards, has announced some of their nominees this year. And you can look at it as kind of a precursor to the Game Awards, which Game Awards will be coming the first week of December. And a lot of these same categories will be reflected within the Game Awards. So if we're looking at it right now, they only have 4 categories for the Golden Joysticks. But so best lead performer, Saga Anderson from Alan Wake 2, Cameron Monaghan, who's Cal Kestis in Jedi Survivor, Najee Jeter, who is Miles in Spider-Man 2, Matthew Peretta, who is Alan Wake, Yuri Lowenthal, who is Peter Parker, and Ben Starr as Clive Rossfield, and then Elise Chappell, Deliver Us from Mars. So definitely a lot of really well-known names there. And I would be fine with honestly any one of those people winning. I think they're all immensely talented. For the supporting actors, we are lucky enough to say that we've actually interviewed one of these people. Amelia Tyler, the narrator for Baldur's Gate 3, is also nominated. Neil Newbon from Baldur's Gate 3, Astarion, Ralph Ineson, Sidolphus Telman from Final Fantasy 16, Laura Bailey as MJ Watson in Spider-Man 2, Patricia Somerset, who is Zelda, Cissy Jones, who is Andrea in Starfield, Idris Elba in Phantom Liberty. So I mean, there is a lot of really, really well-known games, or really well-known names in that race. And then looking at game of the year, and they refer to it Dash said as the ultimate game of the year. You can pick up the 5 options, and then I think what'll happen is they'll choose those top 5, and then you'll have to choose one from those 5. So some of the games they've had: Spider-Man 2, Dead Space, Hi-Fi Rush, Super Mario Bros. Wonder, Baldur's Gate, Alan Wake, Metroid Prime Remastered, Final Fantasy 16. I mean, kind of all the games that you'd expect to be on there, and maybe some that you wouldn't necessarily expect to be on there. Assassin's Creed Mirage is one of those games, and that might just be because of it being, you know, one of the most popular games of the year. I don't think anybody is really truly looking at Assassin's Creed Mirage as one of the best games of the year.
Bless you.
I just sneezed so hard.
Good
Uh,
zoom tight,
yeah.
sir.
But definitely interesting to see, because I think that's probably giving us a good idea of who is going to be nominated for the awards as it relates to performances, as it relates to game of the year. Some of the ones that'll be really interesting to me are art direction, you know, best kind of ongoing game. So
Soundtrack.
yeah, soundtrack, because we've had an amazing year in gaming, and there is honestly just so much to be like proud of for this year. If you're a game developer and you put out a game in 2023, props to you, because what a year it's been. So as I feel like always typically happens for Ubisoft games, information about their upcoming title got leaked by none other than a Ubisoft worker on LinkedIn. So I don't know why their track record is so bad with them leaking their own stuff, because this has happened like 3 or 4 times. And
Maybe they like to just gauge public scrutiny.
maybe like that
And
honestly would make more sense.
And it's just like, hey, these people hated this leak, so let's go ahead and change it.
Yeah, so Assassin's Creed Red, which I don't know if it's a code name or the actual title of what it's going to be. I think it is a code name. So it does appear to be set in feudal Japan. And we are going to get a samurai Japanese focused Assassin's Creed, also known as Ghost of Tsushima if you play on PlayStation. No, but it does appear to be a female protagonist, and if the last few I guess Mirage is the exception in this case, but I know the last few Assassin's Creeds you've had the ability to switch between a male or female main character. So I know Cassandra,
I think that's a good way to kind of pursue,
Mhm.
you know, like the more you give options, like you kind of just give people the option to choose their character, it makes it easier. But I know like with certain games, obviously you want to tell a specific story, then that's when you have like a hard set character.
Yeah, like in Mirage, I think that was probably the indication. So they went with, I think it's Basim is the main character's name.
Yep.
But yeah, so definitely appears to, I'm assuming we'll probably get some information, whether it's at the Game Awards or whether at, you know, something, a Ubisoft Forward, which they tend to do a few times a year. So definitely one of the things to kind of watch out for. In addition, one game that we have talked about previously on the show, Dark Forces, Star Wars, is finally got its release date confirmed. I want to say it's February 24th, 2024, which is absolutely awesome. I will be picking it up upon release. My first Star Wars game that I ever remember playing is Dark Forces for PlayStation 1. and it's going to be released for PS4, PS5. I don't know if it's getting a physical release. If it does, that would actually be super dope because it has one of the coolest covers that I remember. Playing as Kyle Katarn, and it's funny because the story of this game was utilized in The Mandalorian, for kind of what the game was about, and the discovery that happens in the game is shown in The Mandalorian. So it's just very cool to kind of see a lot of these things come full circle. And yeah, I mean, it's a game we talked about. I think we're all pretty excited to see, what it's a remaster, not a remake. So keep those, expectations tempered a little bit.
I think they gotta go through and do it for every one of those games too. Like give us Jedi Knight 2, Jedi Outcast at some point.
Jedi
Even though,
Academy.
I mean, I think that game is accessible already, honestly, but
I know it is on Switch. I
Yeah.
don't know if it is on.
I feel like they did a bundle which included
Yeah,
Jedi
you get like a
Outcast,
whole
Jedi
Star Wars
Academy.
bundle, Knights of the Old Republic.
Yep.
It's like all of them.
So
That's
it's
awesome.
more Dark Forces and Dark Forces 2 that might kind of be like hard to get.
Well,
Yeah.
if Dark Forces 1
Not
is
anymore.
successful, it's safe to say they'll probably remake Dark Forces 2. So everybody go buy this game because it probably won't be expensive either. My guess is the $20 to $30 range.
I'm thinking why, yeah.
If they release it as a $60 game, I went to
Yeah.
Walmart this week and saw Red Dead Redemption 1 on shelves as a $60 PS4 game, and I
They
about
didn't even
fell over.
They didn't even remaster it, did they? It was just a port, right?
Yeah, it's
It has a
port.
60 frame patch.
Just like the Metal Gear Solid collection. It's a port. It's not even a
Yeah.
remaster.
Yeah.
I do want to play those games because I've never played them before. So
Yes.
I will probably eventually pick up that collection, but not at a $60 price tag. Once it hits maybe $30, $40, maybe then I can go ahead and dive in. So Fallout is the next big gaming IP that is being developed for film and television. And this is we're in kind of a weird situation right now because of the actors strike, which is going on. So the writer strike is over and writers are back to work, which is awesome. That's what everybody should want, because your favorite films and television shows are going to be delayed as long as these things continue to go on. And Fallout is releasing on Amazon, which is, I think it's going to be good for the show in the sense that they'll feel open to not making the show PG. Depending on what service things go on, sometimes they show a little bit of restraint, but Amazon has shown, whether it be, The Boys or Gen V, with some of their Invincible, they have shown a willingness to make more mature content. And this is a big IP that I think needs a mature audience, because Fallout is the game is very dialogue heavy. So I expect to see, some interesting dialogue, and there's going to be a lot of fan service in the show. I think that we'll end up seeing Walton Goggins is going to be, in the show, Uncle Baby Billy himself, which
That's sad, nerd.
yeah.
I can now
He's,
appreciate that because I finished it.
Yes. We've done our job. We got Dash to watch Righteous Gemstones.
Uncle Baby Billy's Bible Bonkers, everybody.
And I think he's really kind of the only big name for the show, which should be cool. I mean, The Boys kind of went with the same thing. The main guy
Carl
is
Urban.
Dennis Quaid's kid. Carl Urban, is definitely a renowned name. But he wasn't he's not Brad Pitt. It's not like an A-list movie star, but he is somebody that you see and hey, I know that guy from Star Trek or from Lord of the Rings or from Dread or
looks like at least I'm not sure if it it looks like the main character might be Juan Pablo from Nacho Libre.
What?
Really?
Yeah, Moises Arias. At least
That's
according to IMDb.
That's quite the shift. I'll be very interested to see how they kind of tackle. I think Fallout is a really interesting property, just in the sense of like doomsday preppers. Like I would love to see like a before and after. Like I think there's a really cool way to do the show in terms of showing it in two different time periods, you know, pre-nuke and post-nuke, and getting to see like how all of these characters' lives were affected. And really interesting to see if they adapt any of the storylines from the games, just in terms of
Now,
what that protagonist journey is going to be.
I mean, depending on how they're gonna do like timeline and shit like that, do you think we'll see something like Super Mutants? Because
Wait,
like,
this motherfucker, the guy that got playing the main was the kid from fucking Hannah Montana.
yeah,
Remember
Rico.
Rico?
Yeah.
What the fuck?
I do think that we are going to get some like
What an interesting casting.
cool stuff like that, though, Dash. I think that we will. I'm sure that we will probably also see what is the big armor called?
Oh no, we're definitely seeing
Power
power
armor.
Power armor.
There was that leaked footage. We're gonna get power armor. We're gonna
Yeah.
get Brotherhood of Steel.
Yeah, so we're gonna see.
Goated.
You gotta have that at least. But I think like timeline wise, I think can't really do the Super Mutants unless you're doing it in the same timeline as like the Master from Fallout 1 in that time. But like how far in this timeline are we gonna be for the show is the question. Because it seems like it's gonna be Los Angeles kind of based, right?
Yeah, and it sounds like it's gonna be in the like 1950s or 60s, or you know, some, because that's typically when Fallout is, you know, because that's when doomsday prepping was at its height, kind of leading into, you know, Cuban Missile Crisis, you know, time frame. And so I don't know, I'm really curious to see how they adapt the show, because it is a property I think you can do a lot of things with. You know, it's not like the Elder Scrolls. If you were to adapt the Elder Scrolls to a TV or film media, I think it would be a little difficult to separate it from a lot of other fantasy, because aside from races, there's not a ton of variance there. I just
I always felt like Elder Scrolls kind of had its like uniqueness to it. Like I can see something. I see Elder Scrolls because they kind of have like that. Like their elves are very different from elves that you usually get in other.
yeah, I will
Genres.
definitely say that. But I think Fallout, honestly, if Fallout just ends up being an okay show, I think it's a win, because I will say that some of these, you know, video game shows have been pretty decent. I mean, I know you guys really liked. I still haven't seen Twisted Metal. I want to.
Yeah, I enjoyed
Um,
it. I enjoyed it.
I highly recommend it. You'll enjoy it.
Obviously, The Last of Us.
Oh,
was
Five Nights at Freddy's comes out this week.
Oh my
shit.
gosh, yeah. And another video game property which I feel like should be semi easy to adapt. I mean, it's big animatronics, you know, chasing you. Like that's not.
Markiplier's making his own movie. If you've seen that, he just released a trailer teaser for his movie. He's doing it based on a little indie game called Iron Lung. But it's like a really cool concept. Basically, you play as someone that's like locked in a submarine. Like basically the stars are disappearing all across the galaxy, and you're dropped onto this planet of like blood. It's like a blood ocean, and you're just in the submarine. Like you have to like navigate, like you'll have like a sonar basically telling you if you're close to a wall or not. And you gotta follow a map, go to different locations, and the only thing you have is a little peephole that you can take a picture of, and it'll post like a picture of what you just took a picture, like a little picture of what your camera captures. So there, it's a little like short experience, but it's a horror game. So like obviously there's like, it's gonna be interesting seeing how Markiplier brings this to life, because it's like it's like a little pixel kind of game.
Yeah.
Like,
No, that is cool.
oh yeah,
Definitely.
I recommend just like watching a playthrough on YouTube. It's a really cool concept.
That is really cool. So one last thing that we wanted to talk about for the show tonight is one of our favorite things is coming up, which is a showcase. And so Xbox Partner Preview, which is going to be occurring tomorrow, Wednesday, October 25th, 10 a.m. Pacific time. So that is 1 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. British Standard Time. So we are going to see stuff from Remedy, from Studio Wildcard. So they're going to show things from Like a Dragon, Infinite Wealth, a new launch trailer for Alan Wake 2, the first gameplay for Ark Survival Ascended, which I'm not 100% sure if that's Ark 2, like what it's officially called now,
Or it's another Ark
or like the
spin-off game.
next gen Ark, or
These Ark games need to stop.
I watch gameplay of people playing it and it actually looks really fun, but
It is
I-
one of the most messy games I've ever played. So like there was like a time when I tried to play Ark because I had some friends that tried to get me into it. And so it's kind of like Minecraft, right? They drop you into a place on an island and you just collect resources, craft, build base, and you gotta survive against fucking dinosaurs. But like the game is not well built, and even like I feel like there's so many bugs in this game and they never bother to fix the bugs, but people play this shit regardless.
yeah.
I mean,
Isn't Vin Diesel in this new one?
yes, and so that's like Arc 2. Maybe they're gonna do it from scratch.
Now the dinosaurs are family.
Yep.
So okay, this is a remaster or like a upscaled version
Okay.
of Ark. So Ark 2
With-
has been
bugs
delayed.
included.
Yeah, probably. People are pissed because Ark 2's been delayed. And so they're going to remove or delist Ark 1, and they're going to make this the only version available and charge full price for this new version. So
Damn.
so it's a little shitty.
Yeah. It's just kind of like it's one of those games I'm surprised is so popular because I played it. I'm like, there's so many games that do this like open world survival stuff already
Yeah.
and not as messy, it seems. But like I've seen some pretty funny shit. Like there's this one guy on YouTube I seen, like it's just like him always getting chased by a
A
T-Rex.
T-Rex, and he has
It's
like this
just-
high-pitched like
Yeah.
squeak of a yell. Yeah.
Or he'll be like in the ocean and there's like a whole bunch of sharks coming at him.
yeah.
Oh, you know who I'm talking about then.
I know
Like,
exactly the video you're talking about.
Jordan. No, there ain't no fucking way, dude.
Yeah.
Uh,
So we'll be getting some information, and there is the potential, like they have said, and more. So I don't think they're telling everything that's going to be showing up. I would also think that, you know, you're probably going to see some indie stuff. We're going to see some hopefully unannounced projects prior. It's going to be third-party publishing. So this is not Xbox specific. Like Xbox Studios. These are partner studios. Obviously, Xbox does not own Remedy. I thought they did own Studio Wildcard, who makes Ark, but I guess they don't. And obviously, Ryu Ga Gotoku, I think is how you pronounce it. But they make the Like a Dragon and Yakuza series. So yeah, definitely something really exciting to kind of see, and we'll have to wait and find out what they're going to go ahead and show tomorrow. Hopefully we get, you know, some interesting third-party stuff. One thing that is cool is that because it is partners, you'll probably see some of the games that they do show on there are going to be also played on PC and PlayStation. So, you know, for our listeners who maybe prefer one console over the other, maybe you're a PC person, you'll probably have the option here. So I think that's about everything that we wanted to talk about tonight. What about you guys? You got anything else you wanted to cover?
Quest versus the World. That's the name of that YouTuber that does the Ark videos. If you ever want to just check him out.
I like watching. It's a game kind of like Hell Let Loose, but it's more like Revolutionary War era kind of thing.
It's
and-
like it doesn't start with a V. It's like this. I think I might know what you're talking about.
And it's just funny watching people play that game too, because there's always this one guy like, "Here we go, lads, let's go charge them." Oh no, we're gonna die, lads! No.
Jeffrey's
like that.
fucking dead and you're next, cunt.
Yeah, shit like that. One thing I will point out, so a few weeks ago I went in on Creative Assembly for what we all thought was going to be a bad game, and it looks like I was right because, in case you're wondering, Total War Pharaoh has less than 1,000 current players, and it came out on October 11th. And for reference, I'm gonna go pull up with what fucking Medieval 2 Total War has. And that game came out in 2006. There are 2,500 players in Medieval 2 Total War currently.
That's really bad.
There's 1,500 in Shogun and Shoguns in 2011.
That's way bad.
Man, you fucking idiots. Creative Assembly, bro. Y'all fucking up.
Yeah.
Oh man.
That's all I gotta say.
Hey. Well, as always, we always appreciate everybody checking out the show. Stay tuned because once we do go ahead and we're all going to be visiting Eric next weekend, which we are absolutely stoked about.
If you're in NOLA, come meet us out.
Yeah. If you're in
you
the
can
New
buy
Orleans
us a
area.
drink. We're not gonna buy you a fucking drink.
But post our New Orleans trip, we're going to be talking about our next giveaway, which we are super, super excited about. And there's going to be some exciting stuff coming up. So definitely stay tuned because we are excited to tell. And stay tuned because we're going to have some more interviews here coming up over the next few weeks. So as always, we appreciate you guys. Be sure to like, rate, subscribe wherever you get your podcasts, whether you're viewing this on YouTube or listening to Spotify, Apple Podcasts. Again, thank you so much. We will catch you guys next time.
Have a good one.
Have a good week.